A little bit of steam coming out. And we'll pour that in. What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be making Green Dragon, a tincture made out of grain alcohol. If you're new to tinctures, they're a great way to ingest your cannabinoids if you're not really into smoking. Tinctures are also odorless when you're carrying and consuming them, so that makes them really convenient. They're discreet. It's not odorless to make tinctures. We will decarboxylate, and during that process there will be an odor, but as far as carrying and consuming, no odor whatsoever. You can make your tinctures out of a range of ingredients. Again, today we'll be using grain alcohol, but if you're not into that, there are other ingredients you can use to accommodate your taste, your diet, your lifestyle, anything like that. This video again will be for grain alcohol, but we have other videos that go into other things like oil and vegetable glycerin and things like that. All right. So we're going to be making our Green Dragon today, and we're going to do it in 3 different ways. We're going to do one in the crock pot that you see there in front of you, so with heat. We're going to do one at room temperature, and then we're also going to do one in the freezer. So basically ice dragon, fire dragon, and room temp dragon. All right. What you're going to need to get your tincture going. You're going to need grain alcohol. All right, Everclear is the most popular example of this, but when I went to my local liquor store, they didn't have Everclear. They were actually sold out. Also, the Everclear that they carried was 151 proof. I know it goes as high as 190, but the liquor store near me only carries 151 proof. However, they were out of that. So I just got the store brand. This is store brand grain alcohol. It's actually 153 proof. The higher the proof, the better as far as tinctures go. So 153 beats 151 basically. But it has to be grain alcohol and high proof. All right. Next thing you're going to need is some flour. Okay. I have 21 grams of some jet fuel here. So tear that out. So 21 grams. Nice little sativa there. Let's see if we can come in on that. So about 21 grams there. And then you're also going to need mason jars. Okay, you can pick these up anywhere, your local grocery store, Amazon. I like these because they're wide mouth. That gives you a lot of versatility if you want to do other things with them, like spores. In addition to that, they have measurements on them, so we can see how many ounces we're dealing with. Sure if you can see that or not. You can get them in packs of 4, 6, 8, 12. They're really easy to find, mason jars. Next thing you're going to need is that crock pot that you see right back there in front of you. This by far is my favorite crock pot, and probably my favorite device for working with edibles, tinctures. Specifically, this crock pot gets to really low temperatures. I think it's as low as 100 degrees on this. I usually go, when I'm making my tinctures, about as low as 120 or 130, just depending on, and that's Fahrenheit, just depending on what ingredients we're using. But this is going to produce that nice gentle heat, basically, that we need in order to work with cannabinoids. In addition to that, it actually comes with a built-in temperature probe, and that's really going to come in handy. Because we need to keep an eye on those slow and low temperatures that we need when working with cannabinoids. Okay. You're also going to need a Pyrex dish, oven safe. They come in many different varieties. Here's one. We'll probably use this one. Here's another one. Again, just any variety. We're also going to need some tinfoil. All right, some basic tin foil there. We're going to need an oven thermometer. All right. Yes, the crock pot comes with its own temperature probe, but we also need a probe for the oven. And this is also going to act as a double check in the slow cooker. You're also going to see me using just some basic utensils, maybe a fork, something like that. You're also going to need a strainer. Okay, you can get any different kinds of strainers. This I got at the dollar store. Just a super simple strainer. Conveniently, I actually found these at the dollar store too. These are strainers that are just meant to go in the sink and just stop things from going down the sink drain. But I think these are going to fit really well on my mason jars. So that's cool. We got those strainers. We're also going to need some cheesecloth. Okay. Just basic cheesecloth. You can get this anywhere. And all it is just a fabric, like mesh. See the little holes in it. It's for straining. We'll put that in our strainer and strain so we get a nice, clean, and clear finished product. Okay. After the cheesecloth, we're gonna need some funnels. Just get yourself a set of multiple sizes. I got this at the dollar store. 3 of them. And then the last thing we're gonna need is some tincture bottles. All right. You can get these. I got these online, Amazon. These are the 2-ounce bottles. I also have 1-ounce bottles. I usually just give those away as gifts when they're full. They come in packs of 12 usually, 14, 16 even. Conveniently, mine came with labels. All right. Since we'll be making a few different kinds today, I'll be using those labels. If you don't have labels, you can just use something simple like masking tape or anything like that. And then, of course, the tincture bottles come with their own droppers. So make sure you take care of those and don't lose them. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started now. First thing we need to do is go ahead and preheat our oven. We also need to break up the bud. So we'll get started on that and we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. Originally, I was gonna go with that higher walled Pyrex, but I went with the shallow one because it's wider. And when I broke up the bud, I realized that 21 grams of bud all broken up sits better in here in the shallow one because it's got a wider base and I can more evenly spread it out and distribute it. The reason we break up the bud and spread it out is because we want to have as much surface area showing as possible. If I had used the other dish, the bud basically would have been thicker and less surface area would be showing. So I went with the shallow pan, and that's the reason we break it up to make more surface area. And then also should have mentioned that the reason we use the oven thermometer there is because ovens are notorious for fluctuating and ranging a lot in temperature. Just because the oven says one thing on the dial doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going on inside. So that's why we have the thermometer there, and we're just giving it a few more seconds to preheat. Our target temperature for decarboxylating is going to be 240 degrees. So you can see I've got a little alarm set up on my my oven thermometer there, and we're at 122, just creeping up to 240. So once we're at a steady 240, we'll go ahead and resume. All right, so here's an example of what I'm talking about. So I've got the oven set at 240 degrees. According to my oven thermometer, I'm well over 240. So we're just going to cool this down, and I have an alarm set to go off if it reaches 253. So we'll just, to cool it down, all I'll do is just open the door a little bit. Let some of that hot air out, and then once we stabilize, once we get to 240, that's when I'll go ahead and put the bud in there. To be honest with you, 250 isn't going to do too much damage. I just like to have a little more control over the temperature before I start decarboxylating. So you can see the temperature already started to go back down now that the door is open. So we'll leave the door open a little more. We'll get to a nice stable 240 degrees Fahrenheit, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we hit our 240. I pulled the thermometer out. That's why we have such a low reading right now. But the thermometer's out. Just wanted to show you the broken up bud. It doesn't need to be powdered fine, but it does need to be nice and ground. You know, bigger chunks like that are okay. But it does need to be just a lot of surface area showing and evenly distributed. We want a nice, even decarboxylation. All right, so next step is we're going to grab our tin foil. We're going to place our thermometer inside of our Pyrex. Cover it up with the tin foil. All right, back up a little bit. In the oven we go. Again, 240 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to decarb for 40 minutes. One more thing, I have the alarm set on this probe here to go off if I ever hit 250, so I'll just be around the house doing other things, but if this does get to 250, I'll be notified. Okay, so we're about 10 minutes into the decarb right now. Still got some time. But in the meantime, I went ahead and started labeling my jars because I'll be making a few of these at once. So you just want to put as much information as possible on your labels. The labels there say JF for jet fuel, GA for grain alcohol, and then the C is for cold. And I have the date on there. So same thing here, jet fuel, grain alcohol. This will be room temp. I did not label the one that I'll be making with heat yet, just because I don't want that on the jar that I'll be heating up. I'll just place it on the jar either after I'm done heating it up, or I'll just know what it is because it's the only one that I didn't label. But that's what we're doing in the meantime, and we'll be back. Oh yeah, and just a reminder again, this is the part, the decarbing part of the process that produces an odor. I love it, but if you can't have a strong odor, there are better ways to do this, I guess. We are getting closer, about 25 minutes to go. One more thing that I went ahead and started doing is I cracked the bottle, I opened it, and I poured out the alcohol that we're going to use for our room temp and our hot preparation. But for the remainder, I'm going to put this in the freezer so that it's ready in time to use when we come out from our decarb. The only reason I'm doing these three is just because I want to see the differences in quality and color and potency. I just want to see what the difference is. In theory, the one that's going in the freezer should have a more pure cannabinoid extraction in theory. Reason for that is when the bud hits a certain temperature, as far as coldness goes, and especially when the alcohol is cold, a lot less of the plant material is going to be available to dissolve into the liquid, in theory. That's why you always see people making hash with ice. Hopefully, it reduces the amount of other stuff that I'm not interested in being extracted and dissolved, like chlorophyll and other types of plant material. So again, just an experiment. We're going to see how all three come out. Okay, so we are getting there. We're about 9 minutes left of the decarb process. Temperature climbed up a little bit, up to 248, so I've got the oven open. We're just going to let that stabilize a little bit. Now is also a good time to start preheating my favorite device. I can't state this enough. This is my favorite device when it comes to making edibles, tinctures, and just extracting in general. A lot of temperature control on this thing. But we'll go ahead and set this up. Since this is alcohol, we're going to do at a very low heat, 130 degrees Fahrenheit. We're also going to set the time for 4 hours. It's about how long I want this to go for. And the reason we go so low, this is a very important safety reminder. The reason we go so low is because alcohol fumes are flammable. We do not want to get to a point where we're boiling and steaming this alcohol. So we just want a nice controlled 130 degrees. It's safe to do indoors. And we can see the temperature is going back down on the thermostat in the oven. Getting back down to 246. All right, only thing left to do, we set the temperature to 130, set the time for 4 hours. We'll go ahead and hit start, and that 4 hours is not going to start counting until it actually hits the target temperature. So we're good on the time for now, and I can always reset it if I need to. I'll also get the lid set up. Just have it upside down. I'll get my temperature probe in there. Such a cool feature, man. Such a cool feature. And the temperature probe will tell me when we hit that target temp, 130 degrees. Still got this going in the oven. We'll close this back up. The temperature is getting more stable. And we are almost there. It is time. Timer went off. That's just the time of day right now. We got the slow cooker still preheating. We finished the decarb at 248, so we kept the temperature under control. That's good news. Back up a little bit. And we'll go ahead and just pull this out of the oven now. You'll obviously want to be safe. Use a towel or an oven mitt or something like that. And then we're just gonna let that sit there for a minute or two, because it's obviously gonna be really hot to handle right now. Give you guys a peek of what it looks like. So a lot more brown now. It used to be a little more green. It's just brown now. But this bud is now activated. It's ready to be used in tinctures. What I'm going to do is get this weighed out and split up. I have to do 7, 7, and 7 in each of my tincture jars. I'm going to give it a minute to cool down before I do that, and I'll be right back. It is worth noting that my 20.9 grams turned out to be 18.7 after decarbing. Most of that was just moisture that's left the bud, the plant material. And that's just something you have to keep in mind if you're going to be splitting it up like me, to be able to still split it up evenly. Okay, we are about preheated, 127 there. That beep just says we just hit 130. I've got my 3 jars filled up right now. My labels behind them. And we'll go ahead and start filling them up accordingly. And just as a reminder, the cool thing about this crock pot, it has its own temperature probe. It will calibrate. If it goes too far above 130 degrees or too low, it will constantly calibrate throughout this 4-hour cycle. So I really don't have to worry about coming up to it and releasing the lid and releasing heat and all that. Yes, it might go up to 135, 138, something like that, but it will also dip down as it calibrates into the 120s, averaging out to about 130. My double check is telling me 131 right here. Crockpot was telling me 130 just a second ago. I am good with those readings, and I also have, like I said, I have the double check back there, and I have the built-in probe in the front. Such a cool feature. That's why this thing started counting down already, so we should hurry up and get started. Let me set this down. All right, so what we're going to do with the grain alcohol, again, this is the little bit that I set aside that I kept room temp. I've got the rest in the freezer right now. But what we're going to do with the grain alcohol is we're going to fill up the jars just so that we cover up the bud. We're not going to do an excess amount of this stuff. We're just going to cover up the bud. Oh, that's the alarm I set on the double check. So if it hits 140, it's going to notify me. So just hit 140. I'm not too worried though. Again, this will calibrate and regulate itself. We're just going to put a little more alcohol in there. That was the hot one without a label. This will be the room temp one. So we're just gonna just enough to cover up now the bud. Crazy. I would like to do my best to kind of even these out though too, because I want to do a comparison when this is all said and done. We've got our measurements on the back, so about 2 ounces there in each. And then we'll get the chilled bottle from the freezer. Yes, it's chilled. It's already fogging up now that it's out. Open that up. This will be the cold. Just checking the measurements. Yeah, we look good. Okay. All right. So we're gonna get these caps on. I want to do the cold one first so we can get that in the freezer. Give it a good shake. Stick that in the freezer. Cover up the room temp one. Give that a shake. And to be honest, comparing the cold, and no, not too much of a difference yet. Alright, this will be room temp. I'm going to keep this in a cool, dark area. I've got a pantry right to the side of me. And then this will be the one for the heat. Give that a good shake. Put that in with the heat. And we are good. All right, so we're about 30 minutes in right now. Something I forgot to mention is we do want to shake these up and just kind of agitate them a little bit every once in a while. So safety first. We'll get a towel. I don't have to grab anything too hot. Give that a shake. We'll get my my room temp one as well. Give that a shake. We got the ice one too. We'll give that a shake. And I'll continue to do that every maybe 20 to 30 minutes. But that's the gist of it right there. Another check-in, about 45 minutes in. Switch over to the temp. It's telling me 133 on the crock pot. It's telling me 133 on my double check. Man, I love this thing. We should name it. If you guys have name suggestions, put them in the comments. We're just gonna let this thing continue to do its thing. And also I'll take the time to mention, I went ahead and labeled my tincture bottles. When you're getting your tincture bottles, you want the amber colored ones. You'll see them in blue, green, clear, a whole bunch of colors. Amber is by far the best in protecting the quality of your tincture. Light and especially UV are going to impact it. So always make sure no matter what color your bottle is, you store it in a safe place, away from children and low light. Okay, so 128 on the crock pot, 127 on the double check. We're good. I'm just going to keep keeping an eye on this and swirling it every 20 to 30 minutes. It should average out to 130. Okay, we're back. So another super cool feature about this crock pot is it turns off automatically when the timer reaches the end, and then it actually starts counting up. So you know how long it's been in there even after the timer went off. So we're about 2 minutes after the timer went off now. I'm going to go ahead and pull out these temperature probes so that's easier to work with the lid. We maintained a very stable and constant temperature in there. Here's my 135 actually on my double check. Pull that out too. Another cool feature about this thing, it holds the lid. You don't even have to hold the lid. Alright, so after shaking it up a few times, I learned it's not really that hot. I still advise you to use caution, but I'm comfortable without using towel or oven gloves at this time. So this is the heat prepared tincture. This is the room temp prepared tincture. And then this is the cold prepared tincture. Alright, so set them all here. And what I have set up here is another mason jar with some cheesecloth. Basically, when you get the cheesecloth, it comes in a wrapped up bundle like this. If you actually unbundle it, it's just really fine mesh, I guess is a word for it. And then what I've done is I've basically folded it in half, so doubled it, and then folded it in half again, so quadrupled it. That's what you see here. It's like quadrupled over, and then I have it in that strainer that I showed you earlier. So we'll do the, this is the warm one, the hot one. Get that open. A little bit of steam coming out. And we'll pour that in to our strainer. Alright, we'll let that sit and do its thing. And actually what I'll also do is just pour a little bit of alcohol into here just to rinse it out and get everything all out into the cloth. And then I'll repeat that 2 more times and we'll compare. Be right back. I did the additional alcohol rinse, but I'm just going to use an additional tool here just to get everything out. Wouldn't want to waste anything. The way this stuff is concentrated in such little amounts of fluid, just any amount, even a small amount wasted is going to be a lot of mgs of THC. And we'll go over all the math, the dosing and stuff in a little bit. Get that all out. See, that's better. So we'll let that sit for a little bit. We'll squeeze it out, and then again, we'll do it for the next 2. Be right back. And we're back, all strained. I forgot to mention, when you're done straining, this is what the contents look like, all the bud and everything. When you're done letting it sit and it's straining, give it a good squeeze. Squeeze out all that extra fluid that's in there. I did that already. There's nothing else in here. But I just wanted to save that and make that point. This is what the finished material looks like. This is the finished product. All right, so here's the one that we did with heat. Pretty dark color there. It's about a 2-ounce yield. All right. Put that label next to it. Here's the one we did room temp. A pretty dark color as well, but as you can see, no particle, like very clear. See if that can focus. And then we have the frozen one, a completely different color. I'll bring that. Frozen's a lot lighter colored and a lot less green. And that's kind of what I expected. Again, the chlorophyll in the freezer is going to freeze, so you're going to get a lot less of that. And the brownish colored, that's basically the resin, the trichomes. That's the stuff you want. So really interesting the way that turned out. And so we're just going to go ahead and bottle these now. This is one of the funnels I got at the dollar store, a pack of 3 for $1. So we'll just get that poured in. Try to do it so you guys can see, and then at the same time I don't spill. I have to keep an eye and make sure I don't overfill the bottle. All right, yep. So just about 2 ounces, because these are 2-ounce tincture bottles. All right, we'll do that 2 more times and we'll come right back. Okay, so here we are all bottled up. basically had almost exactly 2 ounces of each, 2 fluid ounces of each. I did have a little extra of the freezer one, so I filled up a little 1 ounce bottle with that. Onto the dosing real quick. Assuming it's $200 an ounce, we use 21 grams, and then also assuming 20% THC content, and then also taking into consideration that I have about 6 fluid ounces here. I'm not counting this little extra. It's not even a full fluid ounce, so we'll just get that out of the way. But assuming I got 6 fluid ounces out of this, we're talking about 4,200 total mgs of THC across the whole entire batch. 700 mgs of THC per fluid ounce. So each one of these is going to have about 1,400. And then that's about 23.7 mgs per ml for all my metric folks. Dollars wise, it was $150 used. Again, 3/4 of an ounce at $200 an ounce. That comes down to about $33 per fluid ounce, so about $66 per 2 ounce vial that you see there, and it's about $5.56 cost per tablespoon, or excuse me, per teaspoon. So that's the dosing and the cost. And we actually have a dosing and cost calculator. I'll put a link in the description for this video. So if you'll be making edibles, tinctures, whatever at home, you could just plug in your details. You can find out exactly how to dose your stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll probably be back with one more update. And we're back. So basically, I'm already starting a next tincture batch. I've got my bud decarbing in the oven. I've got my slow cooker preheating. And the summary was the brown one, the one that came out of the freezer, was the best tasting one. So that's the one I wound up finishing. I'm not too much into alcohol in general, so I wound up taking the other two, the hot and the room temp prepared ones, and I turned them into can of sugar. So if you want to know how to make can of sugar, go ahead and check the video description for a link to that video. And we'll see you there. Thanks for watching. And if you've made it all the way to this point in the video, please hit that like and subscribe button. It would be super helpful and appreciated. Thank you.